You're having a completely normal day. Nothing is wrong, nothing has happened, and then you see something. A post, a photo, maybe just something someone says in passing. And within like 30 seconds, you've gone from fine to this low, heavy awareness that you are somehow behind where you should be, behind where other people are, behind some version of yourself you thought you'd be by now. And the thing that gets me about it is how fast it happens. You weren't thinking about any of this before. Your day was just your day, and then something caught your eye, and now you're sitting with this feeling that's hard to shake and even harder to explain to someone who isn't in it. Because from the outside, your life probably looks okay, and on some level you know that, but the feeling doesn't really care what things look like from the outside. I've had days where I woke up genuinely content and then spent the evening feeling like I was running a race I didn't sign up for and losing it badly. And nothing changed in between, except that I looked at what someone else was doing and let it become a measurement of where I was. That's all it takes sometimes. Just one sideways glance and the whole day shifts. The comparison is never really fair, and I think on some level you know that, but it doesn't stop you from making it anyway. Because what you're actually doing when you look at someone else's life and feel behind is comparing everything you know about your own situation. Like every struggle, every setback, every morning where you couldn't get it together against the version of their life they decided to show. And those are not the same thing. They're not even close to the same thing. You know what your life costs you. You know the stuff that doesn't make it into any post or conversation. The days that were hard for no good reason. The things you're still figuring out. The gap between what you're doing and what you wanted to be doing by now. That's all fully visible to you. And then you look at someone else, and all you get is the surface, the milestone, the trip, the thing that worked out. And your brain just takes those two things and puts them next to each other and treats them like a fair comparison. And the people you compare yourself to, they're doing the exact same thing with their own lives. They have their own version of all the stuff you're not showing. You just don't get to see it, so it doesn't feel real. Their life looks like a highlight, and yours feels like the full, unedited version. And of course, that gap is going to sting. It would sting for anyone. That's not a you problem. That's just what comparison actually is when you look at it, honestly. Everyone has told you at some point that comparison is the thief of joy. You've heard it enough times that you could say it in your sleep. And you believe it. Like genuinely you think it's true. When a friend comes to you feeling behind, you tell them the same thing without hesitating. That everyone is on their own timeline. That their path looks different because it is different. And you'd mean every word of it. But when it's you, that knowledge just sits there. It doesn't touch the feeling. You can hold both things at the same time. The rational understanding that comparison doesn't make any sense, and the very real feeling that you are still somehow losing, and the rational part doesn't cancel out the other part. It just floats next to it uselessly, while the feeling does whatever it wants. I think this is the part that's most frustrating about it. If it were just ignorance, it would be easier to fix. You'd learn the thing, you'd understand it, and it would change how you felt. But you already understand it. You've understood it for years, and you still wake up some days with that specific weight sitting on your chest. That low hum of not being where you're supposed to be, and all the understanding in the world doesn't make it any lighter. You just feel it anyway, and then feel slightly stupid for feeling it, which, doesn't exactly help either. The thing that gets me most about it is that it takes you out of moments that were actually fine before you started looking sideways. You were in your life, present, okay with where things were, and then the comparison got in, and suddenly the moment you were just in doesn't feel like enough anymore. And the moment didn't change. Nothing about your actual life changed. You just measured it against something else, and it came up short. I've been in genuinely good periods and still managed to find a way to feel behind during them. Like things were going okay, nothing was wrong, and I'd still somehow end up sitting there with that feeling because someone I knew was doing something that made my okay feel smaller than it did 10 minutes ago. And that's the part that's hard to sit with. You know, the fact that the joy was right there and I was the one who walked away from it. Not because something bad happened, but because I looked at something I probably shouldn't have looked at and let it rewrite how I felt about what I already had. And once that feeling is in, it's really hard to find your way back to where you were before. The contentment you had before the comparison feels almost unreachable because now you're aware of the gap and you can't unsee it. You can try to logic your way back, remind yourself of all the things that are actually fine, and sometimes that works a little. But mostly you just have to wait for the feeling to pass on its own, and hope the next time you're in a good moment, you manage to stay in it a little longer before you find a reason not to. It's never really strangers. That's the thing I've noticed. Some random person you've never met doing well doesn't hit the same way. You see it, you move on, it doesn't stick. The ones that actually get under your skin are always people close enough to your world that their life feels like it's somehow commenting on yours. A friend from school, someone you grew up with, a person you used to be at the same level as. Those are the ones that do it. And I think it's because with a stranger, there's no comparison to be made. Their life exists in a completely different universe from yours, so there's no way to measure them against you. But someone who started from a similar place, who had access to roughly the same things you did, who you remember when they were just a person you knew, their progress feels like data, like evidence of something. And your brain takes that evidence and runs with it in directions you didn't ask it to go. There's also something about people you have history with that makes it more personal than it has any right to be. It's not like they did anything to you. They just lived their life and it went a certain way and you saw it. But it lands like something more than that. You know, it lands like a reminder of where you are by comparison. And that reminder is a lot harder to shake when it's attached to a face you actually know. A name that means something to you. Someone who knew you back when you both had no idea how things were going to go. I wish I could tell you there's a way out of it, but I genuinely haven't found one that works consistently. Some days you wake up and the feeling is just gone, like it lifted overnight, without you doing anything, and you're back to being okay with where you are. And other days you wake up and it's still there, that same low weight, and you go through your whole day carrying it, and go to sleep still carrying it, and that's just how that day went. And I've tried the things you're supposed to try. Gratitude, perspective, reminding yourself of how far you've come, and sometimes those things take the edge off a little. But there are days where none of it reaches the feeling, and you just have to accept that today is a day where you feel behind, and there's no clean way through it. You just have to be in it until you're not anymore. I think the most honest thing I can say is that some days I'm genuinely fine with where I am. I look at my life and it feels like mine, and I'm okay with how it's going. And other days, I look at the exact same life and feel like I missed something somewhere. Like everyone else got instructions I didn't get. Like there's a version of this that was supposed to happen by now, and I'm still waiting for it. And both of those things are true. You know, they just take turns. And on the days when the second one shows up, I don't really have anything to do with it except wait for the first one to come back. Some days you just feel behind. That's it really. There's no other way to end this.